I always thought my home was safe. It was a small house in a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, but it was mine. For the first few weeks after moving in, I slept peacefully. But then, little things started to bother me. The first time, I noticed the blinds in my living room slightly open when I was sure I had closed them. I shrugged it off as me forgetting. Then, one morning, I found my back door unlocked. I blamed myself again. But it wasn't just forgetfulness. I started feeling it, the weight of eyes on me. Sometimes I'd be making coffee and suddenly freeze, certain someone was outside, watching through the window. At first, I told myself it was just nerves. New house, new adjustment. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. The house was quiet, but something felt off. I walked into the living room and noticed the curtains by the window had been drawn open just a sliver. My stomach twisted. I was meticulous about closing them before bed. I pulled them shut, telling myself maybe I had left them open. Maybe I was overthinking. The next night, it happened again. Curtains slightly parted. The night after that, the same. Each time, I grew more certain it wasn't me. I started checking the locks twice before going to sleep, but the sense of being watched never went away. A week later, I sat in the living room watching TV late at night. I muted the sound to grab a drink and froze. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw it. A silhouette outside, motionless, standing just far enough away that I couldn't make out a face. My chest tightened. I jumped up and yanked the curtains shut, my hands trembling. My mind raced. Should I call the police? Should I run outside and confront whoever it was? But when I finally gathered the courage to peek again, the yard was empty. Still, I knew what I saw. The breaking point came a few nights later. I went to bed early, exhausted. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a faint creak coming from above. My attic. I held my breath, listening. Another creak. My skin went cold. Quietly, I grabbed a flashlight and pulled down the attic ladder. I climbed halfway up and froze. In the corner of the attic was a sleeping bag. Next to it, food wrappers, empty bottles, and a pair of binoculars. They were pointed straight at the small vent overlooking my living room. My knees nearly buckled. Someone had been living above me, watching me. I didn't stop to think. I climbed down, grabbed my phone, and called the police in the front yard. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. When officers searched the attic, the sleeping bag was still there, but the person was gone. They had slipped out before I discovered them. For weeks after, I barely slept. Every creak of the house made my heart race. I replaced all the locks, sealed the attic vent, and installed cameras. I don't know who was up there or how long they had been living above me, but I do know one thing. Once you realize someone's been watching you in your own home, you never truly feel safe again. It started one night when I was brushing my teeth before bed. Through the bathroom window, I noticed a motion sensor light in my backyard flicker on. I froze. I lived alone and my yard was fenced in. No pets, no neighbors cutting through. At first, I assumed it was a raccoon or stray cat. But when I went to check, the yard was empty. I shrugged it off, turned the light back off, and went to bed. But that night, I had trouble sleeping. The thought of someone wandering back there wouldn't leave my mind. And the next night, the light came on again. For a week straight, it happened, always between midnight and 3 a.m., the backyard light would click on. I'd get up, peek outside, and see nothing. One night, I decided to leave my curtains slightly open, just enough for me to peek through without being noticed. Around 1:30 a.m., the light snapped on again. This time, I saw movement. Something shifting behind the tree line, just at the edge of the fence. A shadow. Someone was out there. My heart pounded. Whoever it was, they weren't trying to break in. They were just watching. By now, I was terrified. I called the police twice, but by the time they arrived, the yard was empty. They told me it was probably kids messing around, but I knew better. I set up an old camera I had, pointed straight at the backyard. The next morning, I checked it. Most of the photos were black, triggered by the light, but one nearly made me drop the camera. A man was standing at the edge of my fence, half hidden by the trees. His face wasn't clear, but his posture was unmistakable. He was staring straight at the house. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Around 2 a.m., the light came on again. I peeked through the curtains and nearly screamed. He wasn't by the fence anymore. He was standing in the middle of the yard, close to the house, his body turned toward my window. I dropped to the floor, crawling away so he couldn't see me. My hands shook as I dialed 911. By the time the police arrived, once again, he was gone. But now they believed me. They found footprints in the dirt leading up to my window. I installed floodlights, cameras, and reinforced the locks on every door and window. For weeks, I barely slept, waiting for the lights to come on again. Eventually, they stopped. Maybe the cameras scared him off. Maybe he moved on. The police never caught anyone. But I'll never forget the feeling of looking out my window and seeing him standing there, still and silent, staring back at me. Because it wasn't just about being watched. It was about him letting me know that he wanted me to see him. I had been renting a small apartment for about 6 months when I first noticed it. My bedroom closet door was often open when I was sure I had closed it. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe I was in a hurry getting dressed and left it ajar without realizing. But it kept happening. No matter how carefully I shut it, sometimes even locking it with the little latch. I'd come home to find it cracked open again. The unease started to eat at me. It wasn't just a door. It was a feeling that someone had been inside my room when I was gone. A few weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night to a faint sound. It took me a moment to place it. Scratching, coming from the closet. I sat up, heart pounding, straining my ears. The scratching continued, slow and deliberate, like fingernails dragging across wood. I forced myself out of bed and yanked the door open. Nothing, just clothes, shoes, and a few boxes. The sound stopped the instant I touched the handle. I told myself it had to be the building settling, pipes in the walls, anything but what it sounded like. But I couldn't shake the image of someone crouched in there, waiting. One evening after work, I came home and immediately felt something was off. My apartment smelled faintly of sweat, though I hadn't been home all day. When I walked into the bedroom, I froze. The closet door was open wider than usual, and inside, one of the boxes had been moved. I stepped closer and saw it. Footprints. Dust had gathered on the closet floor over the months, and now there were clear prints leading toward the back wall. My blood ran cold. That night, I called a friend to come over while I checked. Together, we emptied the closet. When we pushed the boxes aside, we found it, a small panel in the wall, just big enough to crawl through. Behind it was a narrow crawl space that led to another apartment in the building. The realization hit me like a punch. Someone had been slipping through, using that hidden space to enter my room, watching me, waiting until I left. I felt sick. I didn't spend another night there. I packed a bag, left, and called the landlord the next morning. He claimed he had no idea about the crawl space. I didn't care. I was done with that place. The police checked it out, but by the time they searched, it was empty. Whoever had been coming through was gone. Even now, in my new place, I double-check every lock, every closet, every corner before going to bed. Because once you had proof that someone was inside your home, watching from the dark, you never truly sleep soundly again.